80 Proof Podcast. I'm your host, Nathan Poplinski of 80 Proof Gaming. Nick is here of Bloop Show. What have you been doing, Nick? What have you been up to for the last month? Because no one has heard anything from you, and it's been a mystery that we've all been wanting to solve.
I've been twittering. I'm in France, and I've been playing games. I've been playing music, and I've been looking for a job, and being returning from depression and wanting to heal myself, and rebuilding my mind into a place where it's stable, and I can start making new YouTube videos which will actually be funny and not just melancholy and terrible.
So how was the Ninja Psych Ward?
It was good. It was good. I enjoyed my stay.
How did Ninja Psych?
They gave me my phone. They gave me my phone and 3G so that I could update Twitter and pretend that I was like living a normal life and like talking about the news about video games and stuff and like new videos that I'd seen. But I didn't have Sony Vegas or a microphone, and that's why I took my videos.
But since ninjas do kill people professionally, how does a ninja psych ward compare to a normal person psych ward?
Well, the main thing is if you fucking any of your shit out of any code, it will be stolen and you can kill. You need to be wearing like full body samurai armor because everybody knows that samurais just destroy ninjas. They're scared of you, so you just got to be walking around in some samurai armor. And you've got to like always have your sword ready so you can just like in Metal Gear Rising when he cuts his arm off. You need to be doing that. But it was a good stay.
Other than that, pretty close to normal. Other than the the samurai armor and the ninja cutting preparation techniques, it's pretty much a normal psych ward.
Yeah, it's pretty similar. Pretty similar.
So our guest this month, Nadi, he would be here, but he is late. We've come up with many theories as to why he might be late, many of which actually consider the possibility of ninja psych wards being involved. But it's possible that he's just, stuck in traffic. That's just a normal thing. But in his place, although actually he would be here anyway, is Wally. Wally the legend, in fact, from his YouTube channel, youtube.com/WallyCharby.
Yep.
If you haven't seen Wally, you should go watch it. It's fucking awesome.
It is, actually. I am subscribed and watch every single one of his videos. Every single one.
It's very nice to hear that people actually do watch them. I'm glad you guys both do.
Every time a new Wally's video comes out, I'm on Twitter and I'm like, you should watch this video.
On the Twitter, tweeting like mad. Wally put up a new video. You should watch it.
What's that video, please?
It is amazing.
Wally, what you been up to for the last month or so? You're a guest, so you can talk as far back as you damn well please.
Let's see. Last month or so, getting ready for school, moving into school, starting at college again. I'm already on my third week of school, which seems crazy. And just in the meantime, trying to keep regular videos going, which can be kind of tricky, in between focusing on school, because the videos thing is obviously just a hobby at this point, so it's not something like, screw school, I'm just going to do videos, but it's definitely not something you just want to like not do anymore, because it's fun. We all make videos because it's fun for us. We enjoy doing that. So yeah, pretty much just the constant battle of trying to balance the two. So I've mostly managed to be able to get stuff out regularly, and then otherwise I've just been trying to play some new games. I typically don't do too much as far as Steam goes or anything, but got a few games, got Bundle, been playing Fez and some other stuff. Otherwise it's pretty much normal. Just dealing with all the moving back into school stuff, that can be kind of hectic.
Sounds like it. Nick, what have you been playing for the last month? Because you totally skipped the actual leisure time gaming type things, and you probably haven't been doing a whole lot, but what have you been playing?
I've been playing quite a few games again recently. Like, I kind of took a break from it, and it's weird because like I come back with like this whole new renewed like love for gaming, instead of just being a cynical bastard and saying, no, this is bad because of this, because I'm like, I was really into like my analysis, my reviews, and like I still have that part of my brain. It's definitely still there, but like now I feel like I can just play a game and enjoy it as well. And I've been playing Binding of Isaac. I started playing that. That was like the first thing, and I was like, I was playing a lot of Metal Gear Rising. Actually, that was the first game I was playing a lot of because it was just like thoughtless. And I, like the combat in that game is brilliant, right? But one of the biggest strengths of it is also like the biggest weakness of the game is that it doesn't teach you. There's basically no tutorial.
The camera is bobbing up and down.
I moved the camera because there was too much.
It felt like the camera itself was like nodding to you. It was like, yes, I agree with you. With the camera in my hand.
Like the thing with Metal Gear Rising is the tutorial that they give you is you can run, and then you run a bit and like good. You can run over obstacles and you run over obstacles. Good. You can press the X button and it will do a light attack. Then you do a light attack. It's like good. You can press the Y button. It will do a heavy attack. You do it. Good. And it's like that's the whole tutorial.
Constant
right?
stream of positive feedback.
The gameplay is like insanely deep. Like it's deeper than I thought. It wasn't very deep. Like the combo this and shit. It's like deeper than like any Devil May Cry game that I've played or basically any game that I've ever played. And like the way they teach you how to parry is just like some abstract bullshit. I can't remember what he said. It doesn't even tell you the control properly. It's just like, yeah, do some light attacks when they're attacking you, and it doesn't make sense. But then you just play it, and the more you play it, because they don't teach you it, the more you play it, the more you figure out like cool shit. So like I've been playing it for like over 40 hours at this point, and I just realized recently that you can parry missiles coming at you. So like there's like a tank shooting like all these missiles at you, and you're just like ping, 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 and you just, blah, blah, blah. And like,
nice.
80 Fruit Podcast, pling, 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 blah, blah, blah. That's the name of this episode, pling, 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 blah, blah, blah.
They don't teach you that there's a dodge ability. There's a dodge ability in the game, right? I beat the whole game without knowing that because you buy it, and it's called offensive defense, which doesn't tell you what it does. There's no description of it. It's just like, do you want to buy this move? And I'm like, yeah, sure. Never used it for the whole playthrough until I was on like a harder difficulty, and I was like mashing random buttons, and I found out I can dodge. And like, it's a big weakness of the game, like as an actual design. But then it makes it really fun. And then I was playing Binding of Isaac, because it was just like simple, mindless. It's a game.
You need to play Saints Row the Third if you're looking for simple, mindless enjoyment.
Yeah, I was just talking about like mechanically. It's just like the most simple game you can have. Binding of Isaac, just play it.
True
So
enough.
playing that, loving it. Love Binding of Isaac.
That should be
And
your
then
game for this month.
Playing to France, which is where I am, which is a different location from ground. I was playing Civ 5, which is awesome, and I love Civ 5. It's good. It's grand strategy of grand proportions. And then, if you don't know what Civ 5 is, you just suck.
You've
And
got a
then-
lot of fucking hours into Civ 5.
I do. And I played recently, it was on sale on Steam, Hotline Miami, which is just so good. I can't even describe why it's good. It's just, you have to play it. I
It
was
is
playing
good. Quote, this is a good game, you should play it. End quote.
Yes. Like, I was playing it at 4 o'clock in the morning because I couldn't sleep a few nights ago. I think I was talking to Nathan. Was I talking to you that time?
I believe you were.
Yeah. I was just like, I was so sleep deprived, and I was just sitting there like hunched over my computer, like, just playing Hotline Miami, and it was just like the best experience ever. It was just so fun. It's one of those brutally hard games where you die.
I want to
in
play
one
that
hit.
game. That's my kind of game, and you know it.
No, you would love it. It is disgustingly hard. Like it's one of those games where you just like play it and you're smashing your face against a wall until you beat it. But it's fun. Like the gameplay is really fun, and I highly recommend it. I might make a video on it.
You
I might not.
definitely should make a video on anything. Just make a fucking video.
Oh,
I
and
need the blue. I need the blue back.
I have made over 30 videos this month. I've been making a video every day and sometimes 2 or 3 videos in a day. I've been ridiculous. I've been on my shit.
Is Wally say he was going?
Hmm.
I think he's been.
So
But
I have
this-
changed my channel over, and that's a good thing.
hold on.
All right.
I'm talking still. I'm gonna talk for a long time.
Please continue. I am fascinated by your opinion. I am rapt in attention.
I played Tekken Tag Tournament 2. A lot of Tekken Tag Tournament 2. And it's good. That's going to be my next video, Tekken Tag Tournament 2. It's a really refined Tekken game. I like it.
What got you started on playing a Tekken game?
When I was younger, as a kid, I played Tekken 4 on PS2. And I really liked it at the time. And it was like the only fighting game like that I majorly got into. Like I played the other one, but the only one I ever owned was Tekken 4. And I was like, I want to get back into fighting games. I want to play a fighting game. So I've been playing a lot of action games. Like I've been playing Devil May Cry, and I recently ordered the Devil May Cry HD collection. I haven't got it yet. It's probably in my house, but I'm not there. And I ordered like the MGS Legacy collection for the PS3, which I don't own the console, so I'll probably need to get that. And I just wanted to play something action-packed, and I was like, yeah, Tekken. So I got Tekken 2, Tag Tournament 2, and I'm blown away. It's really great.
It seemed like I remember when that game came out, right? And I played a lot of sort of fighting games at the time. Capcom versus Marvel versus Capcom, Capcom versus SNK, SNK versus King of Fighters, believe it or not, which is a game that nobody fucking played, and I played it on an arcade cabinet. It was badass. And that was one of my favorites, actually. The fucking swapping in and out of people mid-combo was actually a sort of a new thing back then.
Tekken Tag?
Yeah.
I didn't play the original, but the tag system, for me, it just adds so much. Like every game, every fighting game should have a tag system. It should be there.
All of them need to have this. Period. I remember the fighting game where there was a bunch of characters with melee weapons, and then there was one character with a gun, and the one character with a gun would literally one-shot you.
Good game.
From a range. Completely OP.
I want to play Skullgirls.
I want to play Skullgirls. I want to be among the Skullgirls. I want to play as a Skullgirl in Skullgirls.
We should have online multiplayer.
Should.
If it does, we should play Skullgirls.
We should play
You'll
Skullgirls.
beat me horribly because I'm bad at fighting games.
So I've been doing a ton of shit this month, assuming that Nick is now
I'm
complete.
finished. I'm done.
Because I've been playing every damn thing. I've been playing like Dungeons of Dreadmore once per day because I'm trying to beat that game, and it's really fucking hard. There is an end to that game. It feels like it's a roguelike, but it's not a roguelike in any way whatsoever. Like, all of the actual levels are predetermined. The bad guys on those levels are not predetermined, but all of the actual levels themselves are predetermined, and it's really, really hard. That game is so hard to actually beat. And it's an absolutely ridiculous game with bad guys like the living mustache, animated mustache, or that. Anyway, it's a fucking living mustache that you have to fucking kill.
The living mustache.
Yeah.
Alright, I'm just gonna keep that one up here. All right.
Try and fucking Google that and see if it's something that you can just pull up. I don't know.
John Tron like went apeshit about that he was fighting a giant tempura shrimp.
The bad guys are hilarious. The items are hilarious. The entire game is hilarious. Like, you can be fighting with a plastic sword. Everything in that about that game is really amusing. But I still haven't beaten it. I'm still a complete failure in that regard. But I have beaten Saints Row the Third and XCOM Enemy Unknown, both this month. And I'm pretty proud of myself for that, because I don't usually finish games, and I finished 2 in 1 month. And that's pretty cool. Pretty cool by me. I'm not going to 100% either one, unfortunately. I thought about trying to get 100% of the achievements in Saints Row the Third, and then I realized I would have to beat the game like 3 times to pull it off, and I was like, fuck that. I barely managed to pull it off once. I'm not going to do it 3 times.
We should play one of those 2 games together.
I do think that we could play like a versus game in XCOM Enemy Unknown. We couldn't do like a co-op thing. But we should do a co-op playthrough of Saints Row the Third. I would totally be down for that. Or number 4, which just came out, relevant and stuff.
Yeah, that game is silly.
I've been really trying to avoid like Let's Plays of that game because I want to experience all of the silliness firsthand. All of the silliness in Saints Row the Third I experienced secondhand because I had seen a full Let's Play from Jesse Cox and WoW
gotcha.
which I highly recommend because it was hilarious. But play the game first probably.
Yeah.
And I opened a new YouTube channel. I don't know if I already mentioned this, but I opened youtube.com/80proofgaming, which you are on right now if you're watching this podcast, because I'm not putting the podcasts on the old YouTube channel anymore. It's all going to be on youtube.com/80proofgaming. Brand awareness, very important. But now, because I've got this new podcast, right, I opened this new YouTube channel for my like higher quality content, and I've said those words. I've said the new YouTube channel is for my higher quality content. Now the content on that YouTube channel has to be good, or else I was lying, because I fucking said those words. And so I haven't made a legit new video since, because I'm an idiot and said those words. And now every time I go to make a new video, I'm like, this isn't good enough. I feel bad things in my heart place.
Amen.
So I'm like, oh no. So what do I make next? I gotta come up with something. And you two have to help me.
What you should do is a video about why Bloop Show and Wally the Legend are the two best channels on Normal Groups United. And not only Normal
Clearly.
Groups, just the two best YouTube channels just on YouTube.
Period. Yeah, on YouTube. Yeah. Better than
All time.
Phil Franco. Better than all the things. The best YouTube channels. Absolutely. Bar none.
Top 5 YouTube gaming channels. That's such a good idea for a list.
I actually have made a new video since. It was about me killing Bloop.
Yeah, awesome.
That is actually a thing. I was playing XCOM Enemy Unknown, and I was on the last mission, and I had Bloop. It was Nick, and his nickname was Bloop Show, and he was one of my characters, and he was a sniper. And I even had Naughty, who is not here right now, as one of my characters. And the both of them died in one shot. All of the characters in my team, in fact, died except for me in one shot. And I had myself on the team, of course. And then I continued on to die myself later, but it's not the point. I just thought that was hilarious.
So you didn't put the team on your back?
Actually, well, the thing was, there was these two mechs that they had, these huge missile volley things that could hit in a giant AoE. And I walked up with one character, saw that the mechs were there, and then retreated everyone as far backward as I could. It just so happened that as far backward as I could was clumped up in a really tight group. And I couldn't see them anymore, so I assumed that they couldn't see me either, and so they couldn't shoot their giant missile volley. And I was wrong, and they shot their giant missile volley and killed everyone. There's no take-backsies in XCOM Enemy Unknown. It's very important. So, for the Game Enlightenment Cult, we're going to talk about this more in the next podcast.
Have you said what you played?
Yeah, I played and beat Saints Row the Third, XCOM Enemy Unknown. Wally, have you talked about what you played?
What have you said what you played?
I thought I mentioned some of what I played. Okay. Honestly, one of those things with getting back into school and then working on videos, I noticed that, at least for now, I've been playing less of like what I want to play and more just playing stuff to like get footage and everything. So that's one thing where I'm like, I should play more games just like for myself, just to enjoy some games. I've been playing Fez, because I just got that recently. I finally was like, you know what? I want to play this game because it looks really good, and so far I'm really enjoying it. One thing I will say about it that's kind of, it's a little bit annoying, is that if you forget stuff, you end up having to do a lot of backtracking, which can be kind of confusing because the way the world system is set up, it can just be a little bit tricky trying to go back to where you need to get to. But overall, I really like it. It's got an awesome art style. The gameplay is fun. Well, I mean, I don't know. It's not necessarily the most revolutionary, but it's really fun. And I don't know. I think the music's really good too. That's always something for me that I always pay attention to and really like in games. If a game doesn't have like good music to help tie the atmosphere together, I'm like, ugh, this bugs me. So I like that the music is very ambient for the most part, and it suits like each area you're in really well. Otherwise, besides that, I play FIFA on and off when I'm bored. Was playing some Kirby, some of which for the video that I did, and I've also been playing some Snowboard Kids 2, if anybody remembers.
I do remember
Nintendo
that.
64.
I played the
It is
OG
an
one.
Awesome game.
I remember.
I actually really, really like it.
I remember Super Sunny Tom did a review of that in the early days of Super Sunny.
I remember
Tom.
every time it was a competition between that and like Cool Borders. Like those were the two snowboarding games back in the day.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, Sam did a review of the first game, and now I'm playing the second game, which is so much better than the first game, and I'm actually going to do a review on it. That's going to be the next video.
Sweet.
So that'll be the announcement here, I suppose, of what's Wally doing next for anybody that cares. That's what
We
I'm
all
doing.
care. That's why we're here.
I'm doing a review of Snowboard Kids 2, and the script is coming along, and
shit.
I think it's pretty good so far. So
We got
We'll see how that goes.
the scoop, the inside scoop.
We needed to balance out like the three of us because me and you talked for ages and he just said like 3 sentences. And I'm like, acceptable. Yes, as a guest, you need to watch your.
So yeah, over the last month we were supposed to be playing System Shock 2, and Naughty has run into some issues and he's not here, so we can't really talk about it too much. I'll say that I've enjoyed my experiences, and we'll be talking about it in the upcoming podcast when when Naughty is here and can talk about it. Cool.
I should have played it, but I suck. Hopefully, I'll have played it by the next podcast.
You played it enough for the conversation at hand.
I haven't played it at all.
Exactly. You've played it exactly enough for the conversation at hand. You didn't have to say anything. So we all missed PAX Prime. PAX Prime was a thing. It happened. All of the YouTubers are all up in PAX Prime's, I don't know, grill, something.
Yeah,
But the only significant news that's come out of PAX Prime, like, I tried to find something else significant to talk about PAX Prime. The only actual news to come out of PAX Prime is that the 2DS is a thing.
That's pretty much it, yeah.
No, there's really important stuff like Wind Waker HD.
Well, I would love to pick up Wind Waker HD, but we already knew it was a thing. That was a
And-
thing that they announced earlier.
What about there is no news.
There's no news. But the 2DS is a thing. It's going to be cheaper than the 3DS. It's $129.99, and it doesn't have any stereoscopic three-dimensional doohickeys. It's still a 3D console. People saying that there is no 3D are in significant error, since it has the traditional sense of the word 3D. It's got 3D. It just doesn't have the crazy 3DS stereoscopic 3D, which
Right.
I was under the impression that was sort of considered to be like a gimmick anyway. Like, nobody actually really wants that all that much. I don't want it.
Yeah, it's hard to say, really. I don't know.
I want to buy a 3DS. I think it's probably gonna be my next gaming purchase. It's gonna be a 3DS, over 4, because I'm gonna be working soon and I want to be gaming rather than reading a book or whatever. I want to be playing some games on my way back and forth to work to keep myself entertained on the buses and shit, and just so many good games on it.
I want a 2DS for Fire Emblem because I want to play Fire Emblem. It's got a slightly inconvenient design. You know how the 3DS is sort of like long and somewhat slender because it's got the folding design?
Mm-hmm.
This does not have the folding joint. It's just a flat thing, as if it were an iPad or something. It's just a flat surface. It's square. It's smaller than an iPad, of course. It's actually much smaller than it looks like in the pictures. It's only about yay big. It's only about as big as my head.
Yeah, I don't know. The 3DS is not like, it's not crazy large, honestly. The one thing I will say about the 3DS is like, if you look at a normal DS, everything, it's all contoured, it all lines up really nicely. When you look at a 3DS, the bottom portion's like a little bit bigger, I think, than the top portion. I don't know. At least I remember it not necessarily like lining up super nicely. It's not necessarily like a huge size. Like, it's definitely not iPad size. So
A 2DS is not going to fit in a pocket because of the way it's set up.
no, the 2DS.
That's the problem.
That's a different story.
The 3DS will fit in a pocket and it'll be bulky and inconvenient. But the 2DS just won't. It's designed to not fit in a pocket, which is
Right.
bizarre and fucking stupid. And the screen, it's right on the outside. It's going to get scratched. Period. Dot. It's going to get scratched.
It is, but at the same time, you know that there's going to be protecting kind of cases and things for that are going to sell really well, because you
Right.
know all the younger kids who get it and their parents are going to want them to have a case for it so that it'll be protected.
And then
So
it'll be
you know
even
Nintendo will make
fucking
money from
thicker.
I
And
think that's the thing. I think it comes with the case. I think it comes with a little soft lycra pouch thing.
Oh, okay.
right,
That's
yeah.
great.
If you pre-order it, it comes with a case. But every
pre-
fucking system in the
Pre-order.
world comes with a fucking
Pre-orders
case.
suck. I hate pre-orders.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're kind of
Basically.
annoying nowadays. I think it was kind of like the biggest thing with pre-orders that was like, they're kind of a joke at times. Was like the whole GameStop, like you can pre-order Assassin's Creed 4, and it's like, here, you get this little mini football that no one is going to give a fuck about. Here you go. I'm like, that's dumb.
God damn it! I
Oh,
don't
you
want. Do
pre-order?
you remember the game Gun? It was called Gun.
Yes.
That had the
Yeah.
best pre-order bonus in the world. You got a severed ear. A
That's
fucking
interesting. I did not know that.
like plastic rubber
Huh.
severed ear with a fucking blood painted on it and everything. Best pre-order bonus ever.
Pre-orders shouldn't exist.
But like the pre-orders I like. Things like soundtracks. I like soundtracks. Art books. I like art books. Stuff
Yeah.
that's, sort of cool but completely separate from the game. Pre-orders I don't like. In-game bonuses like you get guns earlier or you get stat boosts. Shit like that. So annoying. Messes with the actual
Yeah.
difficulty curve of the game. If you're gonna fucking get in the way of my actual gaming experience, fuck off. I don't want you. I don't want you here. Get out of here. But and then again, there's little like trinkets and shit that I'm just gonna throw away in 2 years. I don't really want those either.
Right.
But soundtracks are completely different. I like soundtracks.
Right.
Yeah, but
Right. Music and concept art. That stuff is cool. That's stuff that you can hold on to and that you will enjoy.
Can we talk about 3DS a bit more for a second? I think it looks really weird, and I was looking at it and I was like, why? I don't know. You guys can judge for yourself, but to me, it looks like it would be really weird to be hitting the shoulder button with how like low down the
Yeah.
thickness is.
I
And it
agree.
looks ultra
Yeah.
balanced. Like I was talking about this on Twitter. It just looks like normally when you're holding a DS, it's like, let's imagine this hard drive case. I'd normally have a DS with me, but I'm not home. Let's imagine this is it, right? Normally you're holding it there, like there, where my hands are, where you'd be holding it. But you're holding it here. So is that not going to be weird? And how are you going to use the
I see your
touchscreen
point.
here? Like if you've got your hands there, you've got a touchscreen there. If you've got your hands,
Right.
touchscreens there. I've got worries about it, guys. I've got worries.
Yeah, the sizing is weird because like I'm sitting here holding just like, a regular DS, and this feels nice. I mean, shoulder buttons are right here, got all your things, blah blah blah. And then I look at this and it's like, there's so much space. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, you gotta
I kind of
fucking
agree with-
traverse a huge space.
Right, because like everything will be up. Like essentially, you look at the shoulder buttons and where the buttons are. It'll be like holding this, except that screen is the top, and then your bottom screen's down here. So you're like here, and then you're going like here, and I don't know. It's weird.
I'm
weird
going
for
to
me.
give one more negative, and then I'm going to move over to the positive. They had an opportunity to do all these good things. They could have put on a second thumbstick. They could have put on a second thumbstick and destroyed the PlayStation Vita forever. If they had had a second
could have.
thumbstick on there, there would have been no point in playing a Vita.
I don't think that's the point, though.
No. I'm just saying they had an opportunity. They had an opportunity
I
to
think
do some
they'll
amazing
probably
things.
They'll probably do that with the 3DS 3 2DS, 3 thumbstick DS. They'll come up with some stupid fucking names. Of a 3DS XL that has 2 thumbsticks, and then they'll sell that as well. But like the point of the 2DS is that it's just cheaper and kids and shit, and it's just like a lower entry point, I guess.
I want a 10 thumbstick system.
I don't-
4 thumbsticks on the back, and 2 on the front.
Yeah,
All thumbsticks, just an all thumbstick control system. That's what I want. But no, I mean, like they had this sudden opportunity to make their system better than anything else that could possibly be made, and they just totally passed it up. And instead, they made this thing, which is it's like a 3DS except it's got less shit on it. Why don't you just fix it? Anyway, there are some really good things about the system. One is that it's cheaper. Obviously, $129 is cheaper than a 3DS. It's $40 cheaper, if I'm not mistaken. Which isn't hugely significant, but at a $129 price point, it's really achievable. And what a lot of people are failing to consider is that Pokemon X and Y is coming out at nearly the exact same time as the 2DS
same day.
for sale.
Same day. That's
So
simultaneous launch. They're coming out on the same day. It's a marketing thing, I think.
yeah, like if you want to get a fucking Pokemon X and Y for your kids and they don't have a 3DS yet, you're gonna get this one. It's cheaper.
Or
It just makes it more accessible.
You said that the price point isn't significant, but if you don't have a job, like
Yeah, it's significant to me.
yeah.
What I was gonna say is like the actual stereoscopic 3D I don't want on my system, and if I were to buy a DS right now, I would buy the 2DS and not the 3DS.
Yeah, but if you're a kid, like they say they're aiming at people under the age of 7. But if you're a kid, $40 kind of is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I can buy this system and a game,
Right.
or I can buy the system. It makes a difference if you're younger.
I remember
Oh,
that when I
okay.
had my first $40, I felt like I had like infinite money. Like I'd saved up my first $40
Yeah.
when I was like, I don't know, 8 years old or something, and I was like, I am more than a man and less than a god. So has anybody been like keeping track of Final Fantasy XIV in its?
I can't really say that I have, no.
I haven't really done. I've been watching your videos on it, and I was like, that looks like an MMO. Then I moved on.
Well, I appreciate that you watch my videos in Final Fantasy XIV. It's kind of a big deal, or at least it was, and so they made a few mistakes. They made a few huge mistakes. First was they did like this phase thing where they at one point had every single pre-order customer in the beta. Like they had a pre-order customer beta, and everybody was in there, and they got shit working. And then they went with the fucking pre-release phase, where only the people who pre-ordered had access, and their servers weren't good enough. Like, how do you not know how many pre-orders that you had? You know exactly how many pre-orders you have. Make it so your servers will work for that many people, and you're good. And
Right.
they fucking failed so hard. They have no system for auto-kicking people. If you just go on there and you AFK, it will leave you online indefinitely.
Really?
Yes, still.
Some of these things you're listing seem like things they should have easily been able to take care of. Like at this point, I feel like it's like, how do you have an excuse for not?
In Final
fixing
Fantasy
that?
XI, right? Final Fantasy XI is a game that is still running and still making them money. It's the last MMORPG that they made. It came out before World of Warcraft. It came out a full year before World of Warcraft, just so that you understand the time frame. It's still running to this day, still making them money. They understand how fucking servers work. They know
Right.
how to make things work online.
Nathan,
And yet, what's up?
every MMO launch ever has had catastrophic server failures. So like
I
this
know.
is beta, so it's kind of understandable because like
I mean, like here on the podcast schedule Google Docs page, I have written Final Fantasy XIV release woes. Chill the fuck out, internet. Like, I'm gonna get to the point where I'm like, hey, calm the fuck down, people. It's not that big of a deal. But like, I want to explain why it's inexcusable for them to fuck up. Like, there's no reason for them to mess this up. So that I can say, chill the fuck out later, because I've already made the good point. I mean, they've had every opportunity to understand how many people would play. They really don't have an excuse. However, it is a release for an MMORPG. Every MMORPG fails to release correctly. People think that World of Warcraft had this flawless release. It didn't. It was completely fucked up. They didn't think that they would have this many people playing World of Warcraft when they started World of Warcraft. And every time that they had an influx of players, they had to release new servers, which takes time. It takes money. You can't just call a guy and say, turn on a new server. It takes time for these things to be built. They don't just order it and it gets shipped. It takes a lot of time. And it's extremely expensive, hundreds of thousands of dollars to increase your server capacity. So it's something that you have to think about as a company before you fucking pump money into. So, like, yeah, chill the fuck out. It's gonna be a rocky start. And they've handled their shit really expertly. Everybody, it's been about a week since release. The 27th was released, and it's now the 3rd. They've given everybody who's been involved, and everyone, even the people who haven't signed up for an account yet, that have an account, they're giving them a free week of service, so long as they sign up by a certain time. So, internet, chill the fuck out.
Tone it down.
Take it down a notch. Take it
There's something I
down.
want to say. If you're like excited for an MMO and it launches and like the servers are down and you're a bit pissed off about it.
Yeah.
Just think back to that wonderful event that was Era 37, where you got your single player game Diablo 3, and then you couldn't fucking play it because of shitty DRM, and they were like, sorry, the servers are busy. And, like with an MMO, it's like, okay, that's a different thing. The servers don't work. But like, it's an MMO, so you can kind of understand it. But then there's like SimCity, Diablo 3, all these other games that like people have forgotten about now because it's in the past and it's just like playing new games. But that is actually really like, to me, is a big deal, right? I can for MMOs, like, just be less shit, just make the servers work, please. But then at the same time, I'm like, yeah, they're not that bad compared to other people like Blizzard and EA.
I wanted to take a minute to explain how servers fucking work, because people don't understand. People think that everything's on one server. It doesn't work that way. Logins have their own server. So when you type in your username, you type in your password, and you hit enter, a server handles that information. And people are complaining because they have a queue for logging in. They have a system for that. But it doesn't always work. Like when you log in, most of the time you get error 1017. Server is full. Please try again. It doesn't even send you into the queue to enter. That's because the queue itself is handled by its own server, and that server can get overwhelmed. And people are complaining about, like, they can't get into a group with the duty finder system that automatically assigns you to a party before you enter a dungeon. That's because the duty finder system has its own server, and it's completely overwhelmed. Everything needs upgrades. Every individual type of server needs an upgrade for everything to work smoothly. And so, yeah, that's why you can't always get into the queue. Deal with it. Deal with it. Get the fucking shades on. Deal with it.
Like Wally has the shades on. Just put like.
Yeah, Wally's got deal with it shades on. Those are exactly the deal with it shades too. Good job, Wally.
Deal with it.
So has everybody heard about the Chivalry Deadliest Warrior thing?
I saw you mention something about this on Twitter earlier, and I was like, "Whoa, this is interesting."
I saw this.
Basically, isn't it basically? I mean, Deadliest Warrior. That's where you pit warriors from like different time periods against each other, like who will win, kind of thing. And they're gonna throw that into Chivalry, so you can actually like do that.
Yeah, basically, okay, they've got the Chivalry system already, where they've got medieval warfare, right? So they have the knight,
right?
And that's going to be a class in Deadliest Warrior, and they're working with Spike TV to kind of like make it sort of a cross-promotional thing. This is the only way that I'm willing to accept now a TV crossover, is you steal the concept from a TV show and just make it badass. But yeah, so now they're going to have like samurai versus ninja, uh, Deadliest Warrior, and you can sort of customize it so it's
Dude.
samurai and ninja versus knights versus medieval knights, or medieval knights and I don't know, what's a really like fantasy dream team over history?
Spartans.
Spartans.
Spartans,
Knights
yeah.
and Spartans versus samurai and ninja. That would be an awesome fight. That would be so sick.
That'd be pretty crazy.
And you can
Oh.
picture the chivalry system working in that way. Like, you know, chivalry, you can have like daggers and, you know, short sword and shield as a chivalry character. And you can picture like, okay, it works perfectly reasonably that a samurai would be able to use longbows and a samurai sword. And they mentioned in one of the interviews that when a samurai draws a katana, it doesn't attack in that motion. And that's totally... There's a full field of kenjutsu, which is the art of the sword for
Yeah.
in Japanese culture, that's just drawing from the sheath, attacks while drawing from the sheath.
Yeah.
Because they say
Draw techniques.
the fastest way to attack is just from. They do that in Metal Gear Rising. You get your arm cut off like that. Because Raiden's being like a little douchebag, and he's all like, "Oh, I'm gonna cut you," and then the samurai guy's like, he's got like a gun in his sheath, so he's got like a trigger, so and he just shoots it, and it like explodes out of his thing, and it cuts your arm
That
off.
is
and you're like,
insanely badass. I've got to play this game.
watch the video. I will send you a link after this podcast. He like has this like samurai sword. I'll move on. No, this is a podcast. I'm not gonna get excited. Just
Getting excited is the best. I don't know what you're talking about.
need to move on.
You have to be passionate about what you love. Remember the last podcast we talked about.
We'll be caught up on Metal Gear Rising for like 25 minutes if I get on it, because I love that game.
Wally, do you have anything that you'd like to
Yeah.
discuss that's happened recently in gaming or in your life before we move on? Is there some cool topic that you'd like aired to the internet, to the waves, the ebb and flow
man.
that is the internet circuits, the ones and zeros,
Jeez.
the life
Man,
and
put
love
me on the spot.
of the digits?
I don't know. Really,
You can get back to me
one
on
of
that.
the.
If you want.
You might have to get. I might have to get back to you on that. I mean, one of the biggest topics that was interesting lately was honestly the 2DS. Seeing that out of nowhere, I was like, "Whoa, Nintendo, what are you doing?" I've
It
been
doesn't have to be
talking to, like,
recent either.
everybody
It can
about
just be
that.
something that's been like weighing on your mind. Just think about whatever's been significant to you in your life, and we'll get back to you on that. Because I got some
Okay.
things that I'd like to discuss. Have you noticed how games lately have just been aiming for silliness? Just silliness as like a bullet point.
It does seem to be sort of a trend recently. There's been more games that have been geared towards being kind of over the top and ridiculous, as opposed to, you know, very serious and like stoic or something, you know?
Yeah, and I
Which-
like that shift, but like, is that something that you can put in a bullet point on a game? Is that something in a feature list? Hey, we're sillier than the other guy. Like, I understand Saints Row, that series is like, we're silly and we don't give a fuck. But is that really like a benefit? Is that like something that you can say we care less about the rules than the next guy and expect that to be something like? Can you ignore gameplay and just aim at silliness and make it work out? Saints Row is this perfect pinnacle of everything is extremely silly and also we make it fun to play. So
Right,
that's
yeah.
that done right. Can it be done wrong?
Yes. I
I
think
think
that's
so, yeah.
well, in my opinion, done wrong. A game called No Time to Explain. I fucking hate that game.
Oh, you say that name and I know what you're talking about.
I'm
now.
http://www.google.coming.
Have you played it once?
That is the game. I haven't played it. I've seen other people play. Isn't that the game where like you're like chasing after someone? You keep going in portals. You basically like you have. At least most time when I've seen people play it, you basically have like a Spartan laser kind of thing. Almost that's like
Yeah.
the closest thing I can think of. You're just like I can just blast myself around the map and shoot these things that are coming at me, and it's like massively over the top, and levels go like you go through zones pretty quickly, I guess, and it just kind of. I don't know. It's one of those games where there's like so much going on at one time at certain points that you're just like, I can't even. I don't even know if I can focus on this. It just seems like it's trying. It's one of the cases where that actually bugs me about anything, not even just video games, where you're trying too hard.
Yes, that's what
You're trying too hard to be over the top and ridiculous, and it doesn't end. It's not working, which is hard to say because honestly, Saints Row, at least the fourth game from what I've seen, it's very over the top. That's clearly what they're going for, but I don't know. I guess it's.
It's got to be coupled with good gameplay, basically. I remember this game. This is the game that has the giant cannon that you can like shoot downward to project yourself upward and forward or whatever. And the cannon is the entire game. I just checked it out. Originally on Newgrounds.com, apparently. Everything good comes from Newgrounds.com originally, apparently.
Most of the time.
This was not a good thing for Newgrounds. This was a terrible thing. Right, so I'm pretty happy to say that I didn't buy it. I got given it free by Stylosa from Unit Lost Gaming a good while ago. And I was going to do a first impressions of it, of just me being really angry at it. He hated it. And I was like, surely it can't be that bad. And he was like, no, you don't understand. And he gave me a Steam key and I was like, holy fuck. Because like, first of all, like the humor, it's like subjective, but to me it's like really stupid, annoying internet trollolol humor. Like at the beginning, there's a guy, like Total Biscuit liked it, just putting that in there, but I disagree with him. There's a guy being bitten by a shark, right? And he's like, oh, my legs, or oh, I just did my hair, why did this happen? Or just some random stupid bullshit, and you're like, okay.
Yeah.
So, and then the way you play it is, it's like you've got a gun, which is like a jetpack, but it's just, the gameplay is just so weird, and like, I've noticed when I was playing it, I might just be like missing the point of the gameplay and not understanding how you play it. But every time I'd like try and do a level, and I'd put my mouse in this area, like here, let's say, I'd aim it like that, and I'd press, I'd click, and then he'd go like that, and then he'd like fall off and die or some shit. I'd be like, okay, do the same thing, then he'd spiral off, and I'd just be doing the same thing each time. It would be doing something completely different. I'm like, I'm not even playing this. I'm just watching bullshit happen on the screen. And it was trying so hard to be funny, and it was just like, this doesn't have any context to anything. It's just stupid bullshit. And the gameplay isn't there for me. It's just stupid. It was just stupid. Like, if you have backed up by, like, no, stupidity that makes sense is fun. Like, JonTron, his videos are just purely stupid. Like, for the most part, you don't have much, like...
I would argue that there's this distinct difference between
it makes room.
Stupid and JonTron's content. JonTron's content, it takes a lot of thought to create the jokes in his content because they're actually, when you look at them, in the same way as Monty Python is clever, JonTron is also clever. It's on first glance, you look at Monty Python is just stupid humor, but it's not stupid. It's extremely intelligent,
and that's
intelligently crafted.
Something I'd say that makes a difference, like No Time to Explain, is that it's not only got good gameplay, but a lot of the time it makes sense in the story of what's going on. Like there's a joke, but it's not just like lol, just like flying through just a random joke that doesn't mean anything and has no sense.
Right.
And it's kind of normally kind of cleverly written. Apparently 3. I haven't really played any of them, but from what I understand, 2 was well written and 1 was well written, and then 3 was just stupid bullshit, and then 4 has gone back to good writing. But I can't say.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you want good. I kind of agree with you, honestly. Like there needs to be some good gameplay involved as well. It can't just be like a silly story and then the gameplay is shit, because then you can't get invested in it. Because even though Saints Row 4 has like a really silly story, it's actually still fairly well written out, and the gameplay is fun, and there's a lot more to do with the gameplay, so it actually has some balance.
It's hilariously written.
It's just like there's not really any semblance of a story, and it's over the top. That's fine, but if there was a little more to the gameplay, maybe it would help balance it out a little bit. But the gameplay, there's really not much there, and then the story, I don't know. Some people that kind of story will appeal to them. Maybe it's just an opinion thing here with all of us, but it just there's nothing really there that that's too much substance to like make me want to play that. Whereas Saints Row 4, for as silly as it is, looks like it actually has a lot going on. So that actually interests me more.
What's interesting to me is like it seems all of the humor of these silly games, these quote-unquote silly games like Saints Row the Third, they all seem the same at first glance, but when you really look at it, there's a distinct difference in the skill of the writer. Like, the writers for Saints Row the Third are actually funny. They're, like, actually really hilarious. And I don't know if I can describe what the difference is, like how you can spot the difference between a cleverly written game and a stupidly written game that are aiming for the same thing. But I think there is definitely a distinct difference there. Like, Saints Row the Third, you get invested in the characters. Like, they actually distinctly make it so that each character has their own desires and their own motivations in every scene, even if that motivation is, I just want to be a star even though I'm robbing this bank and I want people to know that I'm famous. Or the motivation in the case of Johnny Gat is everybody wants to be Johnny Gat. That's Johnny Gat's motivation for living, is that everybody wants to be him and everyone loves him. Despite that, that is a distinct character trait. And, like, crappily written games like this example that you've given, which was No Time to Explain, there's not any writing in that game. It's just fucking stupid shit for the sake of stupid shit.
It's like humor. It's like mean humor. It's like if you're, well, we all make videos. But if you're gonna make a joke, you're gonna make sure that the joke is like, it makes sense in context of your video. You're not going to be like, oh, the really interesting thing about Skyward Sword is insert random
arrow
name.
to the knee.
Don't do it. It's not even funny. It's just fucking stupid.
Yeah.
You'd make a joke and if you care at all about your video, you'll try and think about it. It's like, what can I do that? Zelda, like, with me, I was like, okay, Link. Okay, I kind of want to make a joke about Link. What can I make about Link? And I was like, he looked like Peter Pan because he was based off Peter Pan. I was like, oh, he's a Peter Pan wannabe. And I kind of thought about it a bit. And I'm not saying that my videos or my joke is good, but I was like, that's kind of a difference.
Your joke makes a lot more sense than suddenly having some dude getting eaten by a shark and dragged off and complaining about getting eaten by a shark.
I was like, he's green.
Right.
All, and then move on.
And this is why I don't do jokes in my videos, because I'm bad at them. Except, this is the only joke I think I've ever done in a video, is this. Because I'm an alcoholic, lol. That's it. It's the only joke I've ever done in a video.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, the beginning of No Time to Explain is basically like a version of you from the future shows up, goes, you need to follow me, there's no time to explain, and then that's like the beginning of the fucking game, and I'm like, this is, I don't know, maybe that's just me. To me, that's dumb. I would say, okay, another good example of a game that I would say that is pretty moderately silly, but has great gameplay and is well written, is Borderlands 2.
Oh, I love that game.
That's a good case for it.
We should collab the shit out of that game.
Great.
Just saying.
I haven't played it, but I've seen that.
I'm changing the game that I'm arguing we should play for Game Enlightenment Cult 2, Borderlands 2.
Borderlands. It's a great game.
Burger
honestly.
Bands.
I really enjoyed Borderlands 2. The writing is fantastic. Some of the jokes in that are just so funny.
That's weird. See, that game is like totally borderline.
The gameplay's fun.
Between like stupid humor that's completely pointless and being well written. Like, it's both at the same time simultaneously, and like in portions they hop back and forth between absolutely terrible writing and completely amazing writing, and it's hilarious all the way through, and it makes no goddamn sense why.
Right.
It's just lull for no reason from time to time.
Yeah.
A point I wanted to make was because Final Fantasy XIV Final Fantasy XIV: A Realm Reborn is a thing right now. They tend to toss memes out like left and right, but they don't actually make it a primary plot point. Like, there's no point in which they draw attention to the memes. It's usually quest names. Like one of the fates, which is one of the, it's like Guild Wars 2, where it'll spontaneously start while you're wandering around. And one of them is Smurg is the word. And it's a giant bird.
Yeah.
And so you know they're referencing bird is the word from Family Guy or from the song, whichever they felt like. But it's Smurg. And, you know, that's pretty clever. You got to actually think about it, and it's not thrown in your face.
That's a humor, because it's like, it's funny if you get it, but if you don't get it, it just makes sense.
It's just a quest name.
It's not weird. It's not just like some awkward thing. It's like, what does that mean?
It might have actually been one more step removed. It might have been ... is the word, and the mob's name was Smurg, and it was a giant bird. It was that much more difficult to figure out. And like,
but then,
it seems like at least 30% of the quest names are a reference to something, and you just don't even know until you fucking look at it. It might even be 50%, and I don't even know. I don't understand the other 20%. I don't know.
But that's not dumb, because unlike just going, bird is the word lol, if you're just playing the game and you don't know bird is the word, you won't just be like, what the fuck? You just be like, oh, okay. And it's not just awkward and weird and stupid.
Yeah, it's very clever. I like the way they did that. And what's very interesting is, like, I don't know, about half the jokes wouldn't make any sense to the Japanese market. And it's a Japanese game.
Yeah.
And a huge chunk of the servers are Japanese servers, so I assume that they have about as many players as we do. So like they're just doing random ass shit that half of their player base doesn't even get, and I just think that's cute. Makes you wonder about the other 50% of the quest titles, whether or not they're Japanese jokes.
They probably have. They've probably rewritten it to Japanese. That's not like effort. Yeah.
But, like, I mean, even if they rewrite it, it's not going to be funny for, like, Family Guy jokes. Family Guy is not a thing in Japan. Maybe they have the show there, but it's not nearly the success rate that it is here. Like, they can't translate that to make it funny for them.
They rewrite it as in not translate it. It's just like, the story is the same, but all the things and names of shit is completely different.
Right.
Because
it wouldn't be an inside joke.
Yeah, they could do that.
I just think that's really, really cute, really clever for them to try and bring us in, us stupid Americans. I don't know what accent that was. That was not a Japanese accent.
that was no accent. That was fucking. I don't know. That was dead. That was nothing.
That was horrible. I should never do accents for videos. That's for damn sure.
What?
I
remember what you were going to say before we rudely interrupted you.
I was just going to move on to the next topic because I think that we're pretty much done with that one. And I've got another topic of my own, but if you guys have anything that you want to talk about, please go ahead, bring it up. I'm wrapping up close to the close.
You got anything, Nick?
Nick, you got something? Come on. Come on. I'm delaying as much as I can.
Oh.
I knew it.
Soundtrack. Music. This is something Wally will most likely be almost maybe perhaps interested in.
Yeah.
I've been playing quite a few games with really good soundtracks. And I've been thinking about how a lot of games nowadays, they neglect the soundtrack, or if they do a soundtrack, it's done in a way that's it's just there, right? Whereas if you look at Zelda or something, I can't actually think of Zelda being a good example.
I've got an example if it's cool. You notice how Hotline Miami has a really good soundtrack, but they're an indie game and didn't spend all that much money on the soundtrack? That says to me that, like, people who have, you know, even indie games have no excuse to have a shit soundtrack. Anybody can have a good soundtrack that matches their game. You don't have to spend a fucking fortune on it. You don't have to have your own orchestra. You can still have a good soundtrack.
my topic wasn't
Right.
about having a good soundtrack or a bad soundtrack. It was how it's implemented. Because since reviewing games, I've been thinking about how it's thinking more and more about how it's important that everything works together rather than one bit being good and one bit where it works in a way that flows together. And I'm thinking about it's Metal Gear Rising that started off the thought, but I've been thinking about it in other games. Like if you watch Game Grumps, JonTron was like noticing things in Banjo Kazooie that you like about how like when you go higher up, like the music sounds further away, and it's like a dynamic with the game. So it's like
Yeah.
you're playing, the music changes as you move farther along, and things like that. And in Metal Gear Rising with
Love that.
the boss battles, as you get down to like their final stages, like it's an instrumental track all the way through, and then like
Right.
first boss, as you go to like as you go to your blade mode where you cut off bits of the Metal Gear's armor, it changes to the verse bit, and then it's all like really well synced and coordinated, so it flows seamlessly, right? And it's a song by a band, and it's instrumental, and then you get to like the end bit where you're blocking the sword, and then the lyrics come in, and in every boss battle it's done really well. It's dynamic, so that like it adds so much more impact to the gameplay. Like you could just be blocking this giant Metal Gear sword, and it would be cool. But then, as you hit the two buttons, the lyrics come in, and all the music hits as like you're hitting things. Like it's not even scripted; just the hits and stuff hit as you're playing the game because they put a lot of effort into it.
Yeah.
Love to see that in more games. Like Hotline Miami does it as well. As you're around, music changes. And Half-Life 2 did it. Like it used music very sparingly.
Mm-hmm.
But what
Yeah.
I like the combination of absolutely no music and having like I like a game that has no music in sections. It has periods of just only the atmospheric music, only the ambience, and then all of a sudden, like you come up to something, and then this orchestrated score starts building as you come closer, and I think that the absence of music brings you into a game sometimes as much as the music does.
Absolutely.
I think it's
Perfect
really refreshing
example
when
of
a game
this,
does it.
A perfect example of this would be Shadow of the Colossus. That game, out in the wilderness, you're traveling. All you have is the sound of you on aggro, the horse, breeze, ocean, whatever it is. It's just beautiful. And then the second you get to where a Colossus is, that orchestral, whatever that part of the score is, kicks in, and it brings that moment up so much because you know you're like that close to the fight. And then obviously the fight happens, that changes to that, and as you go through the fight, the music changes slightly. Like when you fight the fourth Colossi in that game, when you first come into the grassy hills where it is, there's that little part that kicks in, it becomes quiet again. You find the Colossus, it wakes up and fights you, and when you're out right next to it, the music's really loud, it's like all in your face, and it's very somber feeling. And then the minute you're hiding in the caves and it's looking for you, it dies down a little bit. And it's just those levels of music are so nice to hear. And it's one of the cases where I think I'm going to go to a different game here, but a game like Donkey Kong 64 or Banjo-Kazooie, like you were saying, Nick, like the music constantly changes depending on where you're going. And I appreciate stuff like that too because I feel like it helps bring you so much more into whatever environment you're in. There's definitely cases for both of what you said, and I enjoy both of those things.
Yeah.
Why don't people play with that more? Why don't people play with the actual level of music?
I
don't know.
A really good thing that you were telling me when we were talking about Wind Waker that I just remembered about how like they use music to make an impact, about how the first time when you go into that forest crossing the bridge, the first time you attack the guys with the strings hit, and then it's really like brutal. Like the first time,
oh, it was just,
and then you walk into the forest and you stab guys like shit, and it's like the strings.
Yeah.
Like, for me, that's one of the things that like. One of the reasons that I like Wind Waker a lot, and I think it's a really good sequel to like Ocarina, isn't because like any one thing is way better in Wind Waker, but for me it's like loads of little things have been improved. Like it has a second stick for the camera. It's not a central part. It adds a lot to Zelda. And
there's so much just feeling in that game. There's way more raw emotion in that Zelda game than in any other Zelda game that I've played. Just the ambience in that game is unmatched, I think, in any other game in history, really. I'm being completely literal. There is no other game that I think has stronger ambience to pull emotion from the player than The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker. Controversial opinions expressed here.
It's one of those things with Zelda that they've always done recently in the games is that when it's nighttime, all you get is the ambience. Most of the time there's not really any music when you're just outside in the wilderness in Zelda when it's nighttime, and then the minute daybreak hits, the music kicks back in again. I think Wind Waker is probably the best example too, especially when you're out on the ocean. It's like the best thing ever. It's fucking
You get
awesome.
the sound of the waves and the seagulls from time to time, and that's it at night. And that's
then
just
the sun comes up. And then the sun yeah, Zelda.
And then that ocean kicks in, you're like da 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 da.
I still remember the
I love this podcast. The guys nerding out over Zelda Wind Waker.
that should be the name of the podcast. 3 guys nerding out over Zelda Wind Waker.
I think that should be like a little section that you cut out and put on like a separate channel. Or just like
Put it on the fucking nerding out channel. Just 80 proof nerding out about Wind Waker. But fuck, we've talked enough about that. We've talked about fucking. But I do still. I mean, one of my strongest memories in gaming is Ocarina of Time. The very first time that I tolerated it at nighttime and went through the day, and the it just sort of sweeps into that orchestrate. It's beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, Ocarina is my personal favorite game of all time, and my favorite Zelda, even more than Wind Waker and Majora, which are it's hard to pick because they're all amazing. But
Saints Row the Third has entered into the running of best game of all time for me. That moment when I dropped from the sky and managed to like dive through the front windshield of a jet that was flying through the sky, and then kick a guy and take his gun and shoot another guy as I was falling through the jet, and then kill some people while I was free falling, and then land safely is just the best memory ever. Really. Best video game
pretty epic
experience.
Wally, have you played the 3DS version of Ocarina of Time?
I have not.
Damn it.
Have you?
Damn it.
I'll probably play it before I do a review of it.
Okay. Yeah,
anyway,
I've had people ask
I'm
me
supposed
about
to fucking keep us on task because it's my job. Wally,
do you
have a topic for us for the month to chat about?
I guess something that I think about from time to time, it kind of bugs me. I feel like sometimes it's mainly a gripe with Nintendo too. Is I feel like overall games have become just a tad too easy at times, and I think at least my biggest gripe. I know you can ignore it, but for me, it's not the point. With like new Super Mario Brothers and the new Donkey Kong Country, it's like, hey, do you want us to like complete the level for you and show you how to do it? I'm like, no, I don't want you to show me how to play it. I want to figure it out by myself.
Why do they?
I know it's hard. I want the challenge. Like that's the whole point. Like I don't know.
And even if they're fucking aiming for kids, right? Even if they're trying to make it so there's friendly for kids to play, kids aren't idiots. Stop thinking that children are idiots. If you think that they're idiots, they're gonna grow up into idiots. It's our job to train them to do things better. So if you don't give them any challenges, guess what they're going to think about the real world? That it's easy. For fuck's sake, people.
Give them a chance to think and figure out how to solve the puzzle or get through a hard platforming segment or something. You know, they can do it. You know, if my dad back in the day when he was a kid, well, when he was like a young adult, could sit down and play Donkey Kong Country, I feel like kids nowadays can do that too. Like it's not, they're capable of doing it.
I played Donkey Kong Country when I was 4.
Played it when I was very little too.
I beat that game when I was 4.
I think really stupid for me is like a lot of these games, they're not that hard to beat, but they're hard to beat properly. Like that's always what I thought is cool about games like Spyro and Banjo-Kazooie and things like that, like the old games that like kind of we grew up with, me and Wally. I'm not like you, Nathan, but
I'm old.
but things like Spyro, like the collectathon kind of platformer, polygonal gaming, like those were really good games, especially for kids, because you could easily complete it. Like the level itself wasn't the hard part, but it was getting everything within the level so that you could get like 100% it, and actually like the proper way of beating the game. If you play it as an adult, if you're going to play it properly, you're going to want to do everything. You're going to want to beat it 100% because it's a collectathon. If you're a kid, they've designed it in a way that you still can move on as long as you know can beat the level, right? And that's a better way of like having a difficulty curve, of like having it being lenient to different people, like playing it different ways, rather than just like, oh, you can't beat it, someone else to do it for you.
Right. There's this distinction, you know, between finishing it and completing it. You know, it's kind of like Gerard, you know, the completionist. He always has these ratings. You finish it or you complete it. You know, there is a difference here. That's why those games. I totally agree. Yeah, I don't really have anything to add, honestly.
I think.
Why haven't we talked about this topic before? This is like a topic that's close to my heart. I hate games being easier. Like, I play all the hardcore of everything. I play the hardest difficulty, hardcore mode of anything that I can possibly do. Because shit's just too easy these days, damn it.
Yeah, I enjoy, I don't know, first time playthrough of a game, I'll play it on the regular setting, and then I'll play through it again on the harder difficulty. I like doing that. Oh no, damn it, I had another point here. What was I going to say? Shit, come back to me.
I have that problem so many times on this podcast.
Well, if you were smarter...
Like, I forgot, like, this will have to be like a thing, a footnote in the next podcast, because I don't want to talk about it now because it's too late. But I forgot to talk about Scribblenauts, which I played, and Dishonored DLC.
You played some Scribblenauts. You bought that. I remember you buying that. We talked about it last podcast. And I've been wanting to buy it. I wanted to play it with my mom, which is the weirdest thing. But I wanted to play it with my mom because I thought that would be a fun game to, like, get her enjoying video games on.
That'd be amazing. You need to report that. Have you done that?
We played, like, the first 5 minutes and she thought it was stupid. So we didn't play any more of it. But her and I are playing Limbo together, so that's cool.
Nathan,
nice.
We'll talk about the games that I forgot with on the next podcast with Nobby.
Yeah, cool. Yeah.
I remember the point I was going to say. It's a very brief point. Basically, not every game needs to be as hard as Dark Souls. I mean, come on. But at the same time, we want some challenge.
No. You're wrong. You know? Every game needs to be at least as hard as Dark Souls. That's the cutoff.
Well, they should just like design them. No, that's kind of a stupid thing to say. I was gonna say they should just design them better. It's like, no, but
I mean that's actually a fair point. Is that you can design difficulty in a way that's different from the way we think of difficulty in the Dark Souls sense. Difficulty doesn't need to be just kick your ass hard. You can design difficulty in such a way that it's not painful. Like in the case of games like I Want to Be the Guy, where it has the checkpoint system, where like you can try over and over and over again. It's an impossibly difficult game, but because there's no penalty for losing, you can keep going. And so you have to keep your difficulty on a sort of a linear curve with ease of use. So like if your game is impossibly difficult, it has to be really easy to try again. And if your game is really easy, you can be stricter about the save system.
Like Super Meat Boy is another good example, I would say.
That was the one I was actually thinking the whole time.
You get to just continually retry over and over and over again. And you will get it. It's definitely possible. It's just hard.
Yep. Exactly. And I think that there is a place for games that are not easy to use and also are extremely difficult, like Dark Souls. But, you know, you're going for a specific niche if you try that. So, indie game developers, maybe, you know, just be a little cautious about your marketing and such. Apparently, my indie game developer section is over here. This is the direction I talk to when I'm talking to indie gamers, indie game developers. Over here are
Get your
casual
side.
games.
You stay there.
Yep. You fucking stay over there. That's where you belong. Stay in your home.
Looks like you're talking to Wally on my screen because he's facing your way in the picture, and you're facing his way. So on my screen, it was just like
On my
Wally
screen,
looks like this, and you're like,
You're just like, bah.
in the podcast, ultimately, you're both over this
I'm gonna take
direction.
a screenshot
Nick's
of
up
this
here,
and
and Wally's down here. So,
Yeah.
Nick, high five.
that's fine. What am I in? I can't
Good job.
see myself.
Good job. I'm sure we pulled it off on one of those. I'm sorry. I totally interrupted you, Wally, with my chicanerous jackassery.
I don't even remember what I was saying.
You were
I
done
was
with your
just
point. You were
making-
just yeah.
Yeah, I made my point. That was basically all I was saying. There's a place for any difficulty, but it's me being cynical and thinking like, overall games are not quite as hard as they could be.
Now, because Naughty has fucked with our system this month, our Game Enlightenment cult will be off by a little bit. It's just going to be a little loopy. All three of us have a game that we're going to present, and I want each of us to vote on a game that is not ours. It's one of the two options that is not ours. And then if we have a three-way tie, god damn it, why are you people so difficult? I'll come up with something. I'll just pick one, because I'm the ultimate judge. But I don't think that's going to happen. And I'm going to start because, you know, it's my system and I get to do that. And I wanted to pick Borderlands 2 spontaneously after the fact. I actually changed the game that I was going to choose twice. It was originally Final Fantasy 3, and then it was Phantasy Star 1, and then it was Phantasy Star 5 because someone changed it, and then it was Borderlands 2. So, the one I'm going to pick is Borderlands 2. And the reason for that is because of the hilarious writing, because it ties into all the topics that we've talked about, and because it actually would be really cool to have me and Nick and Naughty and Wally, if he wants to, he can totally join, he's invited, do a really big like co-op Borderlands 2 sort of gameplay thing, and then talk about our shared experience in the upcoming Game Enlightenment Cult month. That's actually my entire argument. It doesn't have much that it brings that's new, except the silliness. The silliness is kind of a new thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
An OG sort of reference to old silliness brought back and then added with silly voice acting and things. I think that it would be sort of an educational thing to talk about what it brings to the table in the upcoming month, but maybe not so much as the System Shock 2 thing probably was. But I pass priority. Nick, what do you think? What are you pulling for? What game?
I want to play Dota. I want to play Dota too. Yeah.
I love your reasoning.
Okay. I'm not actually sure, but I like Dota 2 that much. But I think we should play it because what Dota is, what it originally was a mod for Warcraft 3, which is a strategy game. And Warcraft was different compared to like StarCraft and stuff because it had champions. What are they called, champions or heroes? Or something. They had big, they had important units.
They were heroes in Dota.
Yeah, they're called heroes in Dota, whatever we go. They're heroes. They had big units because they wanted it to be easier on people's PCs so that everybody could play Warcraft because you can't have this like massive army and it's more accessible. Well, Dota took a step further by making you not control the army at all and just control one character and you're in an arena fighting 5v5 against another team. And this simple little concept has developed into like a whole new genre, like how Doom was like, oh, you just look in first person, you shoot people in the face, became first person shooters. The same thing happened with Dota. It's no longer a strategy game. It's completely different. And a million games come from it. League of Legends, Heroes of New Earth, Battle of Graxia, other things. Awesome Noughts is kind of like a mix of
Other things.
platforming Mario crap 2D thing and the concept of Dota. There's so much has come from it, and Dota 2 is essentially like an updated HD remake type deal, which is why I kind of wanted to play it, because it's more pure, true to the original, where the roots are. Like, I don't like it as much as League of Legends, I don't think, as far as just like an accessible, fun game to play. But it really shows you where it came from, rather than being just like a spin-off, a different weird thing. Playing the original, and it's harder. It's just, it's a good. I'm tripping over my words.
Good job, buddy. Way to keep it together at the end there.
Good.
Wally, what do you think? What do you think we should play, Wally?
I've already talked about it, but I was thinking Fez, and I don't know, having gone through the topics we have, I actually feel like Fez kind of fits in here because we talked about difficulty. Fez is a game that is both easy to start playing right away, and when you die, you come back right away, so it's, you know, there's not like a huge penalty for dying, but at the same time, it's hard to actually get everything in the game. So there's a little bit of a balance there. And then, I don't know, basically everything else involved with it is just that the game is nice to look at in a way that, I don't know, people will argue art style kind of thing and graphics, like, oh, the graphics aren't that good. Like, we've hit the point where graphics are not really a thing anymore. When someone, like a game with Fez or something, when they make that choice, that is a conscious choice to make that art style that way. It's not like I really don't feel like that's a point against it. Like, it's not as graphically nice looking. Well, that's because they chose to make it look that way. It could be nicer looking if they wanted to go with a different art style, but overall,
Last game we played was
fun.
System Shock 2, which had shit graphics. Just absolute muddy bullshit graphics.
Yeah. So that's my pick. It's got good gameplay, it's got an interesting premise, and it's cool looking and has good music, and, you know, it might be slightly overrated with the whole indie game thing, you know, indie game the movie and stuff like that, but I'm still enjoying the game a lot as I've been playing through it, so yeah.
Also,
Well, I'm going to do voting in reverse from the order in which we introduced them. Go ahead, Nick, sorry.
another point for Dota 2 is it's free and you don't have to pay money if you want to play it, so you can just play it and not spend money.
That's a good point. It's a good point to bring up.
You have a point there.
Wally, which of the two shall you vote for?
If it's between Dota 2 and Borderlands 2, I'm going to have to go with Borderlands. I think that, I don't know, I think it's...
I won last month.
You know, I think it's more fun to play. As stupid as the story is for the most part, I think
it actually has a story.
It's pretty well written. It actually has a story this time in comparison to the first game. It's really funny. The gameplay's not necessarily like, you know, from the first game to the second game, it's not exactly super groundbreaking with the gameplay, but the gameplay was good to begin with, so they kind of just tweaked that and made it a little bit better. And then there's actually, like I said, there's actually a story and it's really funny. So that would be my pick.
Nick, you're up next. Borderlands 2 or Fez?
I want to play Fez because it looks really different. It just seems like I haven't played Fez, and I haven't really seen that much gameplay of Fez. What I have seen, it looks like I haven't played a game like Fez. Like, I played games like Borderlands 2, I played like Diablo, I played Torchlight, for that type of like dungeon crawl, not the dungeon crawling so much as like the random items and stuff. And I kind of understand that like loot treadmill kind of system, and I played plenty of first-person shooters, and from what I understand, like Borderlands 2 is a mix of the two. I kind of want to play it for the humor, Borderlands 2, but for me, overall Fez seems like something totally different that will like maybe change the way I look at games a bit more than Borderlands 2 would. And also, I'm a cheap bastard and I have no money, so having a game like Fez, which is cheap, is also very nice for me. I like that idea.
Well, we have a problem because I'm voting for Dota 2. So, each game gets one vote, but I have a solution. I have a D6 over here somewhere. I'm going to roll it. I'll be right back. I just gotta get a D6. Alright, you see I got this giant D6 dongle doohickey here. Here it is. Somewhat transparent. So, 1 or 2 will be Borderlands 2. 3 or 4 will be Dota 2. And 5 and 6 will be Fez. 6! Fez!
Yes.
Wally Charby wins!
I win. You lose.
Anybody have any closing thoughts? Because elsewise, that's the end of the 80 Proof Podcast. Nathan's gonna drink a booze.
I've been wanting to play Fetch for a long time, but I've never had a reason to. I'm glad this podcast has occurred, so now I have a reason to play again.
It's a shame you don't have that bell with you because you're out of town. Else I would ask you to ring that bell.
Oh, yeah, damn it, my bell.
Tisk tisk. That was the best ending to a podcast thus far. Thank you for joining us, Wally Charby. Do you have any closing thoughts?
Only that this was a good podcast. Thanks for having me. I enjoyed the conversations that we had. We all have good, interesting points to talk about. So that's always appreciated, having some nice, fun conversation about games and whatnot.
It's been fun having you. Check out www.youtube.com/bloopso, www.youtube.com/Wally Charby, www.youtube.com/80proofgaming, www.youtube.com/Kniferandring. Thank you for joining us on the 80 Proof Podcast, and I'll see you next month.